Welcome back, Archie and Kim. Good to see you. Nice expression.
Hmm.
Some quite deep stuff we went into there. So hopefully that's prepared you well for today's lesson. So let's have a look at the lesson then, shall we? Uh, right. Just adjust this. Sorry, I got that wrong. Uh, let's
You can be a little bit higher, Jonathan.
adjust it down. All right. So let's have a look at.
Do you want to just raise yourself a little bit higher so we can see? Because we're only seeing about half of your face at the moment.
Share my screen with you.
Do you want to just raise yourself a little bit higher, Jonathan?
Okay, so do that, share screen. Okay, can you see that?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Great. If you can kick it off for us, Archie, and just read
Mm-hmm.
that quote for us.
Okay. Most folks are about as happy as they make their minds up to be,
Mm,
attributed to Abraham Lincoln.
mm. So a lot of these kinds of quotes get attributed to famous figures. So we don't actually know if he said it, but it doesn't really matter because it's actually about the idea
Mm.
itself that matters. Now, who said it is largely irrelevant. He was actually quite a remarkable man. If you know his history. He was one of those few politicians you could call wise, and he was humble as well, and had a sense of something bigger than just his personal ambition. And he was as if you know your history, he was the man who abolished slavery
Mm.
in the U.S. and they had to fight the Civil War over that issue. But it was a necessary thing to do. Someone had to say, okay, enough. And of course, the southern states didn't like it because that was their tradition, so-called their way of life. But he was like, it's an abomination. You can't enslave human beings. It's not okay. So anyway, with that background, what he's saying here in very simple terms is quite profound. It's a wonderfully simple formula for happiness. Simply make up your mind to be happy no matter what seems to be happening in your life. It's as simple as that.
Mm.
No matter what seems to be happening. So that's the determination to change your perception no matter what seems to be happening. That is the foundation of all personal transformation because it's only through your willingness to change your mind that anything will ever change in your life. And so whatever you're facing, whatever the circumstance, whatever the situation is, you're determined to let it go and find happiness anyway. Now that doesn't necessarily happen straight away, doesn't happen overnight, but you're determined that you're going to find a way out of the misery and the unhappiness that you might be experiencing currently. That determination, that sentiment is beautifully phrased by Yeshua in this quote from the text.
I was not interested in reading that this morning. Why, Jono?
Hmm?
This morning I looked at it, I was just like,
What
no.
the quote? Most folks are about as happy as they make their minds up to be.
No, but it's about don't worry, be happy.
Yeah.
It's like I played that video. It's actually it is a nice video, but it's just
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
this is
Uh,
bullshit.
yeah. Well, when you're not in the right state, and
No, I know. That's the thing.
it
It's
obviously
like
it
when I
obviously
did a half-hour forgiveness meditation. I did the
yeah.
anyway. It did help a bit. I'm not gonna lie, but it was
Mm,
just that feeling of
mm.
like, really?
Yeah. Well, when the
And
ego
then I
is
think you have Robbie Williams in that "Don't Worry, Be Happy" video, and it is like amusing. And then he's committed suicide. I was like,
mm,
and it's the ego mind. So I'm just saying, I'm aware it's
mm,
the ego mind going,
mm.
yeah, see, told you,
Yeah.
told you.
Yeah. You see, death is real. That's the ego for you. It's the
Yeah,
only
no,
misery and death are ultimately real.
Mm.
yeah,
But
it's very dramatic. I know. It's
uh,
like,
uh,
but it's that stupid mind spinning.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
But you
Mm,
see how it works,
anyway.
you see
Yeah.
how fixed in its position it is, that happiness isn't possible. But you can't possibly be happy. That's ridiculous. That's bullshit. That doesn't work. Because the ego only exists in unhappiness. That's what we've got to understand.
Mm.
To be genuinely happy is to be egoless.
Mm.
The ego is always going to be unhappy about something or other. So it can't ever be happy, which explains a lot about the way the world is. Why are the majority of people not happy? Well, because in the ego, it's not possible to be consistently happy. The best you can do is give you moments of pleasure or excitement, but that just covers over the underlying unhappiness. For that little time, you didn't feel as unhappy. And so then you get addicted to the so-called high, whatever the substance, the experience is that you use to give you the temporary relief from the misery of the ego. But it's only temporary relief. The only thing that's really going to work is a fundamental change of mind. As he's saying here, they're as happy as you make up your mind to be. So very, very simple. You might say, oh, that's just way too simple. It's ridiculous. But it's the truth. You're going to be as happy as you choose to be.
Mm.
And it's a choice we all must make. If you choose to be happy, then there's a process to that. That requires work. It requires commitment. Because it's not easy. Just with an undisciplined mind, you're never going to be happy. If you don't learn to discipline your mind and your life, then forget about happiness. It's not going to be a consistent experience. So the price of happiness in this world is self-discipline. You need to practice the spiritual practices that are going to help you to experience happiness, help you to let go of the ego and experience happiness. Okay, so on that note, to help you do that, Kim, if you can read that quote from the course. This is from Introduction to Chapter 21. One of the most profound paragraphs, I think, in the entire course on projection and perception.
Projection makes perception. The world you see is what you gave it. Nothing more than that. But though it is no more than that, it is not less. Therefore, to you it is important. It is the witness to your state of mind, the outside picture of an inward condition. As a man thinketh, so does he perceive it. So does he perceive. Therefore, seek not to change the world, but choose to change your mind about the world.
Yeah, very, very profound advice. What we're all trying to do is change the world.
Yeah.
Well, I'd be happy if this changed in my world. If I could only have more money, if I could only have the right partner, if I could only have a better job, if I could only have more time to myself, if I could only, etc., etc., etc. And this is saying, no, chuck that out. That's all BS. None of that's true. That's just the ego's eternal seeking and never finding. So don't try and change the world. Change your mind about the world.
Mm.
Change internally first, and then you will perceive everything differently, because projection makes perception. So if we look at integral model, briefly, this is from Ken Wilber. We see, how this maps out in this 4-quadrant diagram. You've got subjective internal I. This is the I of your thoughts, emotions, memories, states of mind, perceptions, and immediate sensations. And that is the thought system that is governing your perceptions. So what we've done is we've projected separation out. We've now invented a separate world, seemingly an objective world of bodies and behavior and all the systems and controls and so on that exist in the world. And that's all a projection of that separate self. Right? So projection, hurling the idea of separation out of our mind, makes up this the right-hand side of this of these quadrants, the its and the ids, the objective and interobjective. And now that projection makes up a perception, because now apparently our mind has something outside of itself to perceive. And so now we perceive these projections as real, and we interpret them as real, and that affects our state of mind. That affects our thoughts, our emotions, memory, states of mind, all of our perceptions, and are influenced by the projections. And the perceptions now tell us that the projections, which are made up by the mind that's perceiving them, are real. And so you get caught up in a feedback loop, a self-reinforcing cycle, self-perpetuating feedback loop, where you project out and then you perceive it as real from the same mind that projected it. And of course, you don't know you're doing that. And so that strengthens that cycle of projection perception. That's the illusion. That's how the illusion of a separate self and a separate world is kept intact. So the way out of that, Yeshua's saying, is, well, break that tie, break the link between projection and perception. So we're projecting seemingly unconsciously, automatically all the time. That's very difficult to change. What you can change is the perception of it. So now, instead of perceiving it in one way, you can perceive it differently, and you can let go of the negative perceptions of the world that reinforce the faulty projections. And that process of letting go of forgiveness is what Yeshua was teaching us. That's the process of letting go, forgiveness, surrender, which ultimately undoes your ego, which is the separate mind that's continue projecting this out and perceiving it as real. And so you by changing your perception, you cut the cord that binds you. You unchain yourself, in other words, from this endless cycle of projection perception. Forgiveness breaks that cycle and frees your mind to transcend. You'll see in here there are these concentric circles. So as you free your mind more and more, you go higher and higher until eventually you go beyond all the limits and the boundaries into a pure formless awareness of perfect love that's beyond all of that. But while you're doing that, forgiveness takes you up the levels. Whenever you truly let go of something, you go to another level. Okay, does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Good. So whatever you're going through, it's all about learning this experientially. That yes, my projection has made up my perception, and my perception is flawed because I have miscreated the world. The false thought system has miscreated a world of illusion. Go to this. this idea of separation, which I believe in, has given birth to the ego, or a belief in separation, which gives rise to a separate self. And now I must experience guilt for that separate self. And that guilt demands punishment, and so there's fear. And now I must project all that guilt out by accusing, blaming, and complaining about other people, and trying to essentially blame them and say the guilt is theirs, not mine. Once you understand the mechanics of the ego system, it actually becomes ridiculous. It's laughable. You look at it all and go, really? Did I actually believe that? Well, yeah, you must have believed it. And that's what underlies your separate sense of being, a small victim self, victim identity, is the belief in this whole system. But the Holy Spirit's just telling us, no, none of this is true. Fortunately, actually, you're not bound by all these ridiculous laws of separation. You can actually escape this whole endless, insane cycle and return your mind back to its original state of pure formless awareness of perfect love. And that process is salvation, awakening. Okay, and then I gave you any comments, questions about any of that teaching and projection, perception, how it works, how it all connects together.
No, I just particularly like that last sentence, actually. I think it's really, that to me sums it
Yeah,
up.
I'll read it again.
Therefore, seek not to change the world, but choose to change your mind about the world.
That's probably one of the most quoted and most profound lines in the Course.
Yeah.
Because it reminds us not to follow the ego's directives. The ego is always telling us we need to change the world. You noticed?
Yeah.
Its guidance is always, you need to change that. You need to change that person. You need to change that circumstance, that situation. And if this and this and this happened, then you'd be okay. So that's the endless seeking and never finding. So by doing that, the answer is always outside of you rather than in your own mind.
Yeah.
And of course, that's where the ego wants to keep you, literally out of your mind. Remember when we did this and we believed in separation, we literally went out of our minds and we now created a body in order to seemingly become a body rather than a mind. So we went out of our minds, and now the journey is to go back into our minds. And you do that by realizing that really all I need to do is change my mind. I don't need to change the circumstances of an illusion. I just need to change the way that I perceive them. So I just need to change my mind. That's so simple. Like what a simple, elegant solution to such a disaster of a thought system. All I've got to do is change my mind. How do I change the world? I just change my mind about the world. Because as soon as I change the world, if I'm projecting and perceiving the world, then by changing my mind, I've changed my world. The world comes out of my mind. I'm projecting and I'm perceiving it, and that's my reality. So I change my mind, I change my world. It's as simple as that. Instantly. The moment I change my perception, I've changed the world. That's simple. That's straightforward, that direct. But again, this is not a teaching the ego wants you to know. Because if you know this, you go, well, okay, all I've got to do is change my mind in the situation. Then it's the answer and the undoing of the ego is obvious. Just let it go. Let any ideas that are not true, just let them go. Then you've changed your mind, and then you've changed the world, because you're going to perceive the world differently. And then on the level of projection, what often happens is, we call it a miracle, where something happens and something shifts in the dream, and you're like, oh wow, I wasn't expecting that. Well, that happened because you're projecting it and you're perceiving it, you see? Okay. So there's Pharrell Williams's Happy Song, which I just love that song. It's a great,
I do as
just
well.
just a really feel good,
Yeah.
happy, and for no reason, for no other reason than that I am what I am. I am alive, and so I'm happy. Of course, that's not going to feel authentic to the ego, but then the ego is not authentic itself. So of course, it can't accept the truth.
Yeah.
You see, so obviously it's going to be cynical and reject it, and that just shows you, Kim, how addicted the ego is to unhappiness. It wants you to be miserable and unhappy. It's never going to be for your genuine happiness. So why would you listen to that as a guide? Is there any reason to listen to that instead of the Holy Spirit?
Listen to the song, you mean, or listen to the ego?
No, you listen to the ego. Is there any reason to listen to the ego when all it wants for you is unhappiness?
No, but I don't think the ego's always unhappy, right?
Yeah.
It shows a good time as well.
No, but underlying it, you see.
Longer.
So the ego is quite good at covering over its unhappiness, but it hasn't eliminated it. It's always seeking something more. It's never satisfied with what it has and what it is.
Mm.
So it's always seeking something more, which really is a state of dissatisfaction, as the Buddha called it. He called it straight. He said this dissatisfaction, this dukkha, as he called it, is the source of everyone's unhappiness, because the ego is never happy with what it has. There's always going to be this underlying dissatisfaction. So sometimes it can seem to be less unhappy, but if you dig deep enough, there's unhappiness there. And so what happens is life challenges us, and then that unhappiness rises. And when it all rises at once, as can happen, then it feels terrible. It feels overwhelming, awful. But actually, all that stuff was already there. It was just buried in your subconscious. And now you've got a chance to deal with it. So this teaching of happiness isn't saying you're always going to be hunky-dory happy. It's saying, okay, if you're unhappy, recognize that you choose happiness and go through the process of letting go or forgiving what's making you unhappy to restore your mind to happiness. So that might take some time, might take some effort, but it's worth it. Don't expect life to make you happy. That's one of the greatest illusions of this world, isn't it? The ego. I expect life to make me happy. And other people and places and events and circumstances must make me happy. I mean, surely by now we can see that that's a complete lie. That's never going to happen.
It's like in relationships, people say, how can I make you happy?
Yeah. But the truth is you can't really make someone happy. They have to make themselves happy. It's a choice.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can share your happiness, you can share joy, but if someone is dedicated to misery, then there's not much you can do. It doesn't matter what you do. If someone is determined to be unhappy, they'll find a reason to be unhappy, won't they? Because that's their choice. And you can find plenty of reasons to be unhappy in this world. It's not difficult. It's set up, in fact, for you to find those reasons. So you'll always find a reason to be unhappy. But you can also make the choice that no matter what, you choose to be happy. There's no other option here. So, okay, maybe I'm not feeling that great now. I'm not feeling that happy now, but I choose to be happy. So I choose to engage in a process of letting go so that ultimately I can restore my happiness. I need to let go of all the unhappy thoughts. And that, that's the healing process. That's awakening. So it's really actually quite simple and quite straightforward. It's a decision we make and a decision we stick to. All right. So that brings us into our session, and the next item on the agenda is our lesson for the day. Perfect Love's awareness for me is perfect happiness. It's a very short review lesson. So let's dive into that, shall we? All right, so who would like to read the original and who the alternative? Couldn't fit both on one slide, so those are the alternative versions. Kim, you want to read the original for the first idea?
Okay. Okay. God's will for me is perfect happiness.
Yeah. Okay. And then Archie.
Yeah.
Archie's going to then do the alternate every sentence.
Perfect Love's awareness for me is perfect happiness.
So notice that use of God's will becomes perfect love's awareness, which points this directly into awareness rather than a will. The danger with God's will is very easy to see that as outside of you, isn't it? Because of the way we've been conditioned to think of God. God's will, okay, some will that's not mine, that's apart from me, that's this God entity, figure, being, whatever, is now wills me happiness. But it's very easy to see that as well. It's God's will for me, but it's not my own awareness. So the translation just says, well, it's actually perfect love's awareness for you is perfect happiness. So if you are in perfect loving awareness, then perfect happiness will be your experience. That's what this is saying. Naturally, you don't have to seek happiness. It will come naturally with this awareness. Yesterday, for instance, I was went for a run, had a swim. It was just getting dark, and just in this pond, looking up at the stars and going, what, it's such a simple moment, but this is happiness right here, right now. Like I don't need anything else. It's just perfect as it is right now. And so that was, an abundant, expanded awareness that just naturally I felt happy. I felt joyful. I felt grateful for that moment. Nothing else was needed. Nothing else was required. That's what it's pointing us to. Okay, so God's will is perfect happiness. I'm going to read that one.
God's will is perfect happiness for me, and I can suffer but from the belief there is another will apart from his.
Perfect love's awareness for me is perfect happiness, and I can suffer only from the belief that there is another awareness apart from it.
Yeah, so quite, again, so simple, isn't it? You're like, well, could it be this simple? But there's only really this perfect happiness, which comes from this perfect loving awareness. And the only reason I suffer is that because I believe something else is possible. I can suffer only from the belief, right? It's just a belief that there is another awareness apart from it. That's the whole problem right there. That's it. You just think there's another awareness.
Yeah.
There's another will in the original, but it's another awareness, which is an awareness of separation, awareness of a separate self, an awareness of separation, awareness of everything that separation entails. And we believe that that's true. We believe that that's possible, that that's true. In fact, that has become the truth. and perfect loving awareness and happiness have become a lie. We have to reverse that. This mind training is about helping us reverse that position. Because yes, we're saying, there's no hope in the ego's thought system of unhappiness. There's absolutely no hope in this thought system of separation and being a separate self. You are doomed to be unhappy if you believe that. You will always be unhappy. And eventually, you suffer and you die. It's really fairly disastrous. Don't expect anything else from a death wish. That's what this teaching is saying. You can only expect unhappiness, suffering, and ultimately death from the denial of God. Nothing else could possibly come from it. And the ego is going to try and tell you otherwise and say there's some kind of hope in the system. But at some point, we all have to recognize that there's no other hope. And that can feel terrible. Because all of your hopes, your dreams, your illusions just have to evaporate, and you have to become completely disillusioned with everything that the ego has miscreated, everything in the red boxes and the red arrows. You have to just look at that and go, oh my God, what a shit show. What an absolute nightmare mission. It's awful. You have to go through that. That's the dark nights of the soul process. To realize just how terrible it is, because only then will you decide to wake up from it and say, I can't do this anymore. This is a terrible, hopeless thought system, which is only ever going to bring me limitation, lack, loneliness, suffering, and inevitably death. And I'll do that over and over and over again. I'm done. I'm tired of that. That's just crazy. Why would I choose a system where that's the guaranteed outcome? I have to make another choice here. And this is the choice that the Holy Spirit gives us. Choice to let it all go and realize that actually only this pure awareness, pure forms of awareness of perfect love, our own original awareness is still there. Only that is true, which is exactly what this is saying. There is, we believe there's another awareness apart from perfect love's awareness, but we're mistaken. That's simply not the case. So everything that comes from that mistaken belief must then be what? A mistake. You've got a mistaken belief, and then you believe it so much that you project it all out and you create this whole alternative reality. Well, then that reality must be a mistake as well. That's what the Course is saying. The whole thing, the physical universe, time, space, the journey of being a human being, or any sentient being that seemingly has a separate form in this world, that's all just a mistake. The whole thing is an error that can be corrected very simply by just letting go of the ego's interpretation of the mistake. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. It's just, it is, a very, very simple idea, but it's not easy. To really awaken means you have to confront every single belief and value that you hold. Jesus says that in the Course. He says this Course requires that you question every single value that you hold. Now, that's not an easy process. All of your cherished beliefs, things that you thought were true and real, that you could rely on and count on, all of that has to be questioned and ultimately let go of in order to reveal the truth of who you really are. So a very, very simple lesson, but so powerful. Look at, in a couple of sentences, 3 sentences, look at what he's saying. So profound, so powerful. If you actually live this teaching, then how could you ever be unhappy? All right. So any other thoughts or comments on first review lesson? God's will for me is perfect happiness. Okay, just one more point. Can you see that if God is a God of love, which is what the teaching is saying us, then there can be no unhappiness. Like love cannot create unhappiness, because then it wouldn't be love.
Yeah.
So if God is really a God of love, then everything that contradicts that must simply be unreal and non-existent. Unhappiness, misery, pain, suffering, sickness, death, all these things that seem to be so real in the world, those must be illusion. Because God is love and God only gives happiness. Because love only knows about happiness. So those ideas must then be false. And that's all we've got to realize. They're all false, and so we can let go of them. We can cease to give them the importance that they have. All right, so let's go back to the lesson, which continues on in a similar theme. So this is about we sharing this will for happiness. So let's switch it. Archie, if you want to read the original, sentence by sentence, can you read the alternative?
I share God's will for happiness for me.
I share perfect love's awareness for happiness for me.
I share my Father's will for me, his Son.
I share my source's awareness for me, its extension.
What he has given me is all I want.
I want only what it has given me.
What he has given me is all there is.
And it has given me all there is.
And then from the top, Kim.
I share my source's awareness.
Read both of them from the top, because we didn't actually read the first one again. So read that from 101 from Perfect Love's Awareness, and then the alternative version of 102 as well.
Okay. Perfect love's awareness for me is perfect happiness. Perfect love's awareness for me is perfect happiness. And I can suffer only from the belief that there is another awareness apart from its. I share perfect love's awareness for happiness for me. I share my source's awareness for me, its extension. I want only what it has given me, and it has given me all there is.
Yeah. So underneath all the illusions of unhappiness, lies the truth that love, peace, joy, happiness, that's all there really exists. That whatever covered those over, those thoughts, those feelings, the situation that seemed to engender them, all of that is unreal. Right? It's a covering over the truth. When I had that epiphany after 9 days of meditation, and I went into pure formless awareness for a bit, probably a minute or two, maybe 5 minutes. I don't know. There's no sense of time. It wasn't very long. Then I came back, and immediately I had this like download, and what was shown to me very clearly was the nature of the illusion. I finally just got it. It was like, oh my God, I see. So we've projected out this illusion. We've literally gone out of our minds, put all this stuff out there, precisely so that we can feel all of the negative thoughts and emotions that cover over that pure formless awareness. So the purpose of the world is to give us an excuse for those negative thoughts and emotions to happen. Because the ego, without the excuse, without the justification, would find it very hard to justify all the misery and the pain. And they're like, well, why am I miserable? There's no reason to be miserable. So it had to give us a reason. And so it created a world that would apparently give us the reason for all these negative thoughts and emotions. But that is the covering. That's the veil of illusion that covers the earth. That's what we have to overcome.
Mm.
It's those thoughts and emotions that have then created a world that now engenders the very thoughts and emotions that created them. You see? So it becomes a self-perpetuating cycle. As he says here, projection makes perception.
Mm.
And so now you're starting to understand why it's so difficult to escape,
Mm.
because it is a self-perpetuating, self-reinforcing cycle. It just goes around and around and around, and it seems to get more and more tight and more controlled the more you indulge in it. Until, eventually sometimes you have to have a crisis because it gets so bad that you're like, oh, I can't do this anymore. And then you question the whole system.
Mm.
And then you break through into another level. Okay, so you're starting to see the dynamics of the ego. You're starting to see how the system really works. Starting to understand why it's so difficult to escape from it. But once you understand those dynamics, escape becomes possible. Because once you understand the system, you know then how to break the system. You know how to escape from the system. It's when you don't understand what's really going on, which is where the ego likes to keep you in ignorance, that you don't really understand. And that's very problematic. If you don't understand, how are you ever going to break free from something, right? You've got to understand it in order to know how to escape from it. And that's exactly what he's teaching us here.
And there are lots of like thought systems around as well, Jonathan, like, saying, like the only way to appreciate like love is to experience its opposite kind of thing, this whole thing of duality again as well.
Yeah.
So
which then justifies the duality. Now there is something to that if it's temporary. You say, okay, so the only way out of the system is to experience the pain of duality, experience the ego, make a choice against it, decide that you don't want this, and let it go. That's its only purpose and its only reason for existing, is that it makes you make the right choice. For spirit. But that's not a permanent situation. Duality is not permanent. The danger of those teachings is they say, well, you're always going to have the unhappiness. You're always going to have the darkness. To contradict the light, and that's just the way it is. And that's never going to change. Well, then essentially they're saying reality is dualistic. And that is not non-dual by definition. That's a dualistic teaching, which means we've got this contradiction built in to the fabric of existence. This is saying there's a way out of that contradiction, and that's to recognize the one is true and the other is false. That's the only way you'll ever get out of it. And that process is called radical forgiveness. You recognize the illusion for what it is, and you simply make a choice against it. Say, no, that's not real. I'm not going to believe in that. I'm not going to honor it. I'm not going to listen to that voice. I'm not going to allow the thoughts and emotions that go with that into my mind. I have a choice here. And my choice is pure formless awareness of perfect love and the happiness that it brings me. And I'm only going for that. Otherwise, if you think about it logically, those dualistic systems, what hope do they really give you? Is there hope in a dualistic system? They're basically saying there's no resolution to duality. It just is what it is. The world, the reality is dualistic. You're always going to have the ups and the downs. You're going to have happiness and unhappiness, and that's just the way it is. And so presumably you've got to keep reincarnating and over again to experience duality, because that's God's will for you. If God is a dualistic God that made both the darkness and the light, then that must be God's will for you, right? And so we're doomed to just continue on this journey forever. like something in your spirit revolts at that. It goes, no, surely that can't be. Surely there must be a way out of pain and misery and suffering, because that just makes them real, permanently and eternally. Now, the ego shows us a good picture of that and says, well, there's always been suffering in the world, so why do you think that's ever going to end? But this teaching says, well, because the world's going to end. The entire projection is going to end once you stop projecting it. Once you really awaken, there'll be no need to project a separate self, a separate world. You won't need to come into a world of duality to seemingly experience duality. You won't need to do that, because you have decided once and for all for happiness, for pure formless awareness of perfect love, for happiness. And then the game is over. And then he says something interesting, because he says, well, then the Holy Spirit is eternal, because it will remain with you to keep you safe in heaven. And I've kind of pondered on that. I'm like, well, what's the point? Well, the Holy Spirit has no purpose if there's only heaven. But maybe there would still be an awareness that, like, I can just never go into separation again. That was a very bad idea. Never do that again. Maybe that's what he means. But these are metaphysical prognostications that don't really have any practical value, because right now, where we are currently, sitting in the dream world as a seemingly separate human being, there's one thing you got to do, and that's let go of whatever's showing up that's negative, that's causing you unhappiness. As the Buddha puts it, someone was asking him about, so what about God and all these metaphysical questions? He said, if an archer shoots an arrow into your side, what are you going to do? Are you going to ask about the source of the arrow, the origin of the arrow, how the archer made it, what wood it was made with? But no, you're just going to pull it out, aren't you? So that's what we've got to do, is, pull the arrow of the ego out of our side, one thought, one forgiveness opportunity at a time, to ultimately come to this realization of our own divinity, our own pure formless awareness of perfect love. And that's the simple and difficult process which we're being asked to do. Simple, but it's not easy, because the problem is that arrow feels like you see. The unhappiness, the misery, that feels like your identity.
Yeah.
So now when you pull the arrow out, you're being asked to let go of what you thought was you. You got so used to the arrow being stuck in your side, maybe multiple arrows, that you're quite used to that. And you go, oh, I quite like my arrows, because they give me a victim identity. Who would I be without the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune, as Shakespeare put it? Well, you'd be awakened. You'd be who you really are. You'd be completely happy. But the ego is addicted to unhappiness. We have to recognize that. It needs the arrows. It needs the misfortunes. It needs the grievances in order to continue to exist. They are essential for its continued existence. Which is why, if we look at this timeline, it's why human life is often characterized by so much trauma. You look at the average human life. How much trauma do people go through? Often quite a lot. Normal human life isn't without trauma. Some people have more than others, but we've all experienced trauma in some way, shape, or form. Maybe it was the death of a loved one. Maybe it was loss of a job. Maybe it was a divorce. Maybe it was financial difficulties. Maybe it was sickness, illness. We've, like, everyone's experienced that. So we have to ask ourselves, well, why do we live in a world where there seems to be all this unhappiness, all this trauma that seems to cause so much unhappiness? And the answer is because that's the way it's been set up. The ego has set it up to be that way precisely so that we have an excuse to experience all these unhappy thoughts and emotions, because it keeps us rooted in our separate self and far away from our true self. And that's exactly the purpose of the illusion. That's why it was made up. That's why it was invented. And that's what we have to overcome in order to awaken. And then suddenly, all of these teachings make sense. And when I had that experience at the Vipassana retreat. It was like, oh my God, I get it. That's why it's called the veil of illusion, because it's precisely designed to veil all of this. So you don't know who you are. You forget that pure awareness that I just experienced. All of that is covered over. And you end up in the separate self, in, as you called it earlier, Kim, a shit show, which is terrible. It's awful. And it just seems to be endless amounts of misery and unhappiness and pain, and the world is just broken and fragmented, and there seems to be no way out. Because in the dream, there is no way out, right? If you believe in that system, that's it. That's the reality that you've got to believe in, and that's what you've got to accept if you believe you're a separate self. The way out of it is to realize that that's just not true. You're not a separate self at all. You never were. You are just this pure formless awareness of perfect love, and the separate self and its identity and its world and all of its works, its thoughts, its works, its acts, its beliefs, its laws, its beliefs, and everything that costs you, all of that is unreal. It's simply an unreal false reality that you can see through and you can let go of. And you can return your mind to its true awareness, which is eternal, which has always been there. Fortunately, you couldn't, although you covered that over, you couldn't destroy that because it's eternal. And so it's always there. It's been covered over by a bunch of illusions. And those illusions can seem to be very powerful and very overwhelming at times, but nevertheless, they're still illusions. You scrape all that away, what's left is your pure awareness, and that pure awareness is going to make you happy. It's as simple as that. If you're identified and experiencing that awareness, you're going to be happy. You don't have to seek for it anywhere else. That's where it comes from. So you simply have to eliminate the blocks to the awareness of love's presence. Well, as he says in the text introduction, this course does not aim at teaching the meaning of love, because that's beyond what can be taught, but does aim at removing the blocks to the awareness of love's presence, which is your natural inheritance. So that's what we've got to focus on, the blocks to the awareness of love's presence. So if you're experiencing those blocks very strongly, can you see why that's a good thing? That's helpful. Because now you're getting to experience these blocks, which may not have been that conscious for many years. We repress all this stuff. It stays in our subconscious mind. But when it comes up into conscious awareness, and we're actually experiencing all of those blocks, then we get the opportunity to free ourselves from those blocks by making a decisive choice against them, saying, no, this cannot be true. I don't accept this. I'm willing to let this go, and I'm willing to restore my mind into this awareness, which you can do by spiritual practice, meditation, breath work. These practices help you go back into this awareness, despite the apparent difficulties that you might be facing in the dream, on the timeline. So your spiritual practice, essentially, when you're practicing properly, you're in the blue arrow and you're moving out of the ego system back into your source. And so that's the Holy Spirit's function. When it assists you with the spiritual practices, it's literally changing your mind from being ego-oriented to being spiritually oriented. And that process, can take an instant. It can take a few minutes. It can take hours. It can take, over time, it can take quite a long time to really get good at that, because you got so good at the ego's thought system. All of this red stuff. For most people, the red stuff is huge, and the blue arrow is small. But as you start awakening, you turn that around, and the red arrow becomes increasingly diminished and small and insignificant, and the blue arrow becomes increasingly big and important and valuable in your life. And you start seeing that this actually is a highway out of here. Initially, it starts as just a tiny glimmer, a little spark. But as you go more and more into it, you start to see that there's this super highway, and you're always connected. And that that process of building building this arrow and growing it and strengthening this connection to your source, and then reinterpreting from the source what's going on here. That's the process of forgiveness, awakening, which is the only way you're going to get out of the timeline. You have to realize that the timeline, all the events on the timeline, your identification with the timeline, which is another word for that is karma, your psychological and emotional attachment to your story, all of that has to go. That's going to be collapsed ultimately, and you turn your mind into this awareness. Okay, so again, going into some of the metaphysics, the theory, but that's kind of the point of the lesson. Can you see how the lessons point you into deep theory, into like a profound contemplation of the nature of reality and truth? Just a very simple lesson like this, which your ego was annoyed with this morning, but it's because one simple lesson has the power to awaken you if you really understand it and apply it to your life. If you really share only God's will for happiness for you, you share only perfect love's awareness for happiness, then it's game over for the ego. That's it. There's no more ego. It's done. So of course it's going to have resistance to that. But just be willing to go through that resistance. So that's the hero's journey we talked about. Like, be willing to journey through all of these stages until you get to the death and the rebirth. That's the hardest part. You go through that, and then you come out the other side as a transformed human being who finally knows who they are, and it can finally just be naturally happy. You don't have to go seek happiness. Just in the moment, happiness is there. You're okay as you are, and things continue to happen. You still have experiences, but that base level of happiness, that fundamental happiness, I call it, is always there, because you've undone the ego and you rest in God. So it must be there. But first you have to undo the ego. As long as the ego is still lurking in your mind, in your thought system, it's not going to work. All right. So any other thoughts, comments, questions on any of that? Otherwise, let's go into reading. These are just some comments around the practice. So he's essentially giving us coaching. This comes out of the introduction, which maybe we can actually read. We've probably got time for that. Maybe we should read 8 or 9. So let's read these, and then maybe have a quick squiz at the introduction. But this is really out of the introduction. So again, Kim, if you can read that slide.
To frame our day with the morning and evening practice is to give it a certain meaning. By beginning and ending our day with God, we're making the statement that the day is about God, about coming home to Him. Your morning and evening practice cast light across your whole day, like floodlights shining from both ends of a football field. We see the whole day as being about.
Carry on.
We see the whole day as being about awakening to God. As a result, that meaning will begin to seep into the events of the day. We will start to see them, too, as being about awakening to God. Do I need to read that last part?
No, you don't. That's just some attribution to Robert Perry from the Circle of Atonement. So a great message, and isn't it interesting, the synchronicity? We happen to be doing the Football World Cup right now, and there you get the football. So again, that's just a little like the Holy Spirit's like ding ding ding. Pay attention, because I'm with you. I'm here. I haven't gone away, and I'm I'm in everything. I'm everywhere. I'm here to help you and guide you. But just, just give me the time. The morning and evening practice, give time to the Holy Spirit to come in and then work its miracles in your mind and in your life. If you won't give it that time, then how can you expect it to come and transform your life? It's like saying, I want help and I want guidance, but I'm not willing to do anything to change.
Yeah.
That's insane. Madness. I remember listening once. This guy did corporate interventions, and he literally went into one of the big banks in South Africa, Kim, you'll laugh. And they said, right, we want you to fix the problem, but we don't want you to change anything. How insane is that? They have a problem with the system. Okay, no, I want you to fix the problem, but don't change the system. Like, duh. How's that possible? That's ridiculous. Obviously, you're going to have to make some changes. It's not working as it is. So yes, change is required in order to fix the problem. That's what transformation is about. So that's a classic ego, like fix the problem, but I don't want to change. Totally insane. Totally, that's not going to work ever. Logic will tell you that. But this came out of one of the biggest corporate institutions in South Africa. I mean, insane. Like, what the hell? The guy just said, I just said to them, well, when you guys are willing to be reasonable, then let's talk. Otherwise, I can't help you. Sorry. I guess this is a call. I wanted you to read this because it's a call for you to just dedicate the time. This difficult time in your life. Give yourself the time and the space. Morning and evening, do your practice. Give yourself that time so that you start this process of undoing the ego. You start giving the Holy Spirit a chance to work its healing in your mind and in your life. You give yourself a chance to listen to the guidance, because you'll get guidance in meditation or after meditation. And that becomes essential. Without the lights, if you're playing at night, football, without the lights, you have no game, right? So it's quite a good analogy. Without that practice, you're not really in the game. You can't even play the game properly. There's no guidance. You can't see what you're doing. So quite a good analogy. All right, and then the next slide is about quiet time, when to take your practice. So I'll ask you if you can read that one, again, using the football analogy.
When to take your morning quiet time. As soon as you wake, if possible, when you yourself feel reasonably ready, when few distractions are anticipated.
Yeah. So ideally, do it first thing in the morning. As soon as you get busy with stuff, you go out of that meditative state. So in the first 5 minutes after you wake up, there is this golden time where you're in an alpha state, your mind is very receptive. That is the time to go into meditation. Don't get on your phone, go on social media, switch on the TV, get your mind busy, because you go out of that state and you go back into a beta mode, and then it's harder to find that peace. But if you literally, you get up, you go to the loo, you get a drink, and you go and you do your meditation, then there's no time really for you to, and don't look at your phone unless you're using the Telegram for the meditation. But then just use it for that. Don't go, oh well, I'll just quickly check my messages, and don't do that. Just go, right, I'm just using my phone to play the meditation, for instance. So your mind doesn't go out of that meditative state, and you can just very smoothly, go into your meditation. You use that little window that you have after waking up for what it's really meant for, which is, to commune with God, rather than getting yourself distracted and busy. And then, half an hour later, say, oh, well, I'll do it in half an hour. But then you're out of that state. Now, you've got all kinds of stuff going on in your mind, and you're thinking, you've gone back into a beta state, and very difficult to then quiet your mind and go back in. So that's when I do my meditation. Like I wake up, like unless there's an emergency or something that it's beyond my control, I'm going to do my meditation, and I just structure my day. So I do that, hour to an hour and a half, and then I get up and I'm like, okay, now I'm ready for the day, and I'm ready to engage. But I've done the most important thing first. I've set myself into that. I've locked into a different state, which then that state is now guiding me. I'm in that state, and I'm in a flow state, and it's guiding me through my the rest of my day. And then I'll top up in the evening sometimes the meditation, particularly if I'm feeling a bit tired and then I sleep. Do a top up meditation, so that you're good to go again for the evening. And so that's what he's talking about. Structure your day in a way that supports your spiritual growth, your awakening, and your happiness. You'll be happier, you'll be peaceful, and you'll be more effective, more functional, more productive in whatever you're doing as well. Like I'm pretty productive. Like I do a lot in a day. It's not like I'm sitting twiddling my thumbs, but it's because you take the time out to rest and recover and give yourself this time, so that you sharpen the saw, as Stephen Covey puts it, and then when you work, you're fully in it, you're present, until it's time to rest again, and then you rest. And this is the pattern that all high performers in every area of life, whether it's sport, it's business, it's art, it's music, this is the pattern that all of them use. Rest, recover, and then go full on, right? So intensity of performance followed by deep rest. And then they're ready to go again, and they go again. And the idea that you're always on, and you can always just keep going, that's a crazy idea. So maybe this will help you get through what you're journeying through. It's like, yes, rest, give yourself that chance to really deeply rest, recover, and then you go. And then you can be focused, you can be on it, and then you'll know when it's time to rest again. You start feeling a little bit fatigued, you start feeling out of flow. Okay, time to rest, time to go recover again, and then you go back. And so you need to learn to build that into your daily life, into your routine, and make that work for you, so that you take those time outs, and it's not wasted time. It's essential to keep going. It's essential for your productivity and your performance that you do that, because you're not a machine. You can't just keep going and going with no rest. So the idea is to structure this spiritual practice as rest into your day, and you'll have a much happier and more effective, more productive day. And so maybe this is a call to start doing more of that. Take your rest, take your quiet time, and then work in shorter bursts. Go, okay, I'll do 4 hours, and then I'll take another break and I'll rest. And in between, you can take a 5-minute breath break every hour. I'd really recommend doing that, so that you just refresh, you reset, you do your spiritual practice. You go get a cup of tea, you go to the loo, do that stuff at the same time, and then you're like, okay, I'm feeling refreshed, I'm ready to go again, off we go. So this makes practical sense. This is actually the way to be most effective and productive in the world. It just also happens that dovetails with your spiritual practice very nicely. So you can make those times of rest into your spiritual practice. So nice. I like this. The goal is God. So, if you're watching any World Cup, remember this interpretation of the Holy Spirit. But the real goal is God in all of this. And your only goal is God. And you design your life in that way. You structure your day and your life so that you make the time to connect with God, morning and evening. Yeah. So the very last thing you do when to take your evening quiet time. Let's just read that. Was it Archie who's reading?
Mm-hmm. When to take your evening quiet time. At bedtime, the very last thing you do, ideal option. In the hour before sleep, fairly early in the evening with an additional brief moment at bedtime.
Yeah, so the ideal is just before sleep. Again, why? Because just before sleep, you go into a kind of hypnagogic state. You're starting to go into an alpha state. And the idea is that you go to sleep in this positive state, in this positive mindset. And so you're setting your intention for sleep and for the next day, to wake up in the same way. So you also, if you do it last thing, you clean your mind of anything that's disturbed you during the day. So you make that part of your practice. Okay, so I've got an issue. Maybe I need to do some forgiveness. I need to resolve it. I need to let it go, so that I go to bed in a peaceful state. You sleep better. You wake up better. Essentially, the evening is about cleaning the slate. The morning is about preparing you, creating a nice, empty, open, spacious awareness for the day. So you're going to be able to stay in that awareness and be guided. And the evening is about letting go and cleaning the slate. So it's like, maybe some stuff happened, and you've got some issues that have arisen. Okay, just clean that and restore your mind into this pure awareness we call God at the end of the day, so that you'll sleep better. You're now not repressing it and entrenching it into your mind. You're letting it go. So maybe over years and years, that's what most people do is you repress, and it all gets bottled up in your psyche, and then that's going to come out, and then you have problems. Mental health challenges, physical health challenges. These are a sign that all is not well internally. But by becoming aware of those and working through them in your spiritual practice, in your morning and evening quiet time, that's your healing time, right? This is healing for the mind. This is your true medication. So, some people take their meds in the morning and the evening, they pop their pills, but actually this is the time that your true medication is meditation, is spiritual practice. So, make those things a really important part of your day, that you do it ideally first thing in the morning, before sleeping at night. Get yourself, into this connected state, and then try and maintain it in the day with your lessons. So your short practice periods that Yeshua recommends are to top you up and maintain that connected state throughout the day. And if you do this, slowly you start turning the tide. You start connecting more with Spirit. You start spending more time in the Holy Spirit than the ego. And slowly but surely the tide turns, and you start finding that life is manageable again, that things go smoother, that miracles come to bless you, but you see that it's not all hopeless and despairing, that there's actually a way out of this. Then you, because you've got that positive feedback, you'll keep doing this. You'll do it more. You'll do it deeper. You'll say, okay, this routine is absolutely essential. I have to do this. I don't skip practice periods because this is what keeps me happy, peaceful, and in flow. And if I start skipping, I interrupt that flow, and I'm going to suffer, because I'm going to go out of the connection with God, and that's suffering. Whenever I'm not connected to my source, that's what suffering is made of. And then he says, dedicate the first 5 minutes of the day and the last 5 minutes of your working day. So he's not asking for a lot, and you might spend more time than that, but at least 5 minutes to just set yourself into this divine state and connect with your source. All right. So any thoughts or comments or questions on any of that? And then he's asking us to practice these on the hour, so every hour and every half hour. So try and set an alarm, something on your phone, or your computer, Kim. And just try and do that for the next few days. Try and do it half hour, every half hour, on the half hour, on the hour, and just see what happens. This is about starting to turn the tide. Just a minute spent with an idea, can just serve as a little break. It tops you up. You remember, I share perfect love's awareness for happiness for me. You contemplate that briefly. You take a couple of deep breaths, connect with the feeling of it, and that's it. 30 seconds, a minute, you're done. But it's reconnected you with this awareness. So the idea is that you're not going the whole day without connecting with it, because 12 to 16 hours is too long to be disconnected from your source. Which is why he recommends you top yourself up. All right. So couple more slides. Let's just have a read of those. So Kim, if you can read that slide, do not repeat the thought.
Do not repeat the thought every half hour and then lay it down. Take it with you. So I continue.
Yeah.
We tend to not keep the idea with us, I suspect, because we don't see it as the priceless balm that it really is. Look instead at how Jesus sees it. Its usefulness is limitless to you, and it is meant to serve you in all ways, all times and places, and whenever you need help of any kind.
Yeah, so hopefully that's encouraging. It's like that guidance is always there, the help is always there, but you've got to ask for it. So by giving your time to the spiritual practice, you're essentially saying, okay, so I'm going and I'm asking repeatedly. Whenever I take some time out and I remember the lesson for the day, I'm essentially asking for guidance and I'm asking for healer. And I'm giving some of my time to that, because time is probably the most precious commodity we have in this world. I'm actually saying, yes, I value this enough to give a significant portion of my time every day to this. People say, I value spirit, but you don't make the time, but I'm too busy for spiritual practice. And what they're saying is that you value other things more, essentially. Because your actions speak louder than words. And that time you give is essential for your awakening. If you never give it any time, how do you expect to suddenly come to know God when you keep shutting God out and never giving yourself any time to experience the awareness we call God? Okay, so maybe Archie, if you can read this one, the practice periods are planned to help you.
Mm-hmm. These practice periods are planned to help you form the habit of applying what you learn each day to everything you do. You can make the business of you holy if you don't lay your lesson down, if instead you bring it with you. Why are you keeping it in hand to have it at the ready for when you need it? If you're shaken, meaning if your peace is shaken, think of it again.
Yeah, so this the lesson is like an anchor. In neurolinguistic program, they talk about these anchors. You have a phrase, maybe it's a word, maybe it's an action that anchors you into a different state. You use the anchor to get back into that state. He's essentially saying the same thing, saying use the lesson as your anchor to get back into a state of mind where you feel connected, you feel guided, you feel happy. If you're not feeling that way, then you absolutely need to practice, do your lesson to help you to reconnect. Okay, that makes sense. So here we just see a pyramid. how this can be structured in terms of the length, the duration. Your morning and your evening practice are your longer practice bit. So that's the majority of your spiritual practice. But even then he's saying 15, 20 minutes is probably enough. Mostly. He very seldom recommends, occasionally he says half an hour. But that's the exception. Mostly saying, look, spend 15, 20 minutes in the morning and in the evening. This is your quiet time, it's your meditation, and set yourself up for the day. Then you're going to do your hourly remembrance, your hourly practice periods, which is less time. Hourly, maybe you spend 1 minute an hour times 15 hours. That's 15 minutes or something. So less time when you add it all up. And then you've got these frequent reminders. So your hourly remembrance, remind yourself. I think this is saying when you really need it, remind yourself. If you're feeling stressed, you're feeling upset in any way, remind yourself of the truth. It's exactly when you need the lesson. And then finally, as a response to temptation, when you really get tested and the ego comes calling, you absolutely need your lesson and you need to practice. So the best thing you can do is time out and go and do some practice and restore your mind into its right mind. And so that's the pyramid. And this happens within situations, So quite a nice little axis. And that axis is your duration. And this is, how you deal with things as they arise. So your frequent reminders, responses to temptation tend to happen in the moment. So you're really getting your buttons pushed. You're feeling overwhelmed. You're feeling anxious. You're feeling depressed. Whatever it is, then that is the time to practice in the moment. And you bring in the Holy Spirit, and you call on its guidance and grace. So you learn experientially that it's always there. You call on it, and guess what? The answer is always there, and you do get guided through these difficulties and these challenges. All right. So, any thoughts, comments, questions on the practice? See what the time is. Oh, what's happened to my phone? Oh. The phone appears to have died. Oh dear, why has it died? I'm going to run out of battery. I don't know. I thought it was fully charged. Don't know why it just collapsed. I thought I had enough battery. Anyway, so I think we're about 8:30 now. Do you want to go into a meditation?
Yes, please.
Yeah.
Yes, please. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. I thought about doing the introduction, but they'll take it well over 9 o'clock. So let's just do the meditation.
I know I'm feeling really sleepy now. I always go straight to bed after the meditation.
Yeah. Well, there's your pre-bed spiritual practice essentially.
Absolutely.
Your meditation done, and then that's a good time to go because you've got into a nice connected state. You're peaceful. You're calm, and then just go to bed in that state. Yeah. If you go through that, then you get a second wind, but you're essentially using the time that you should be asleep and resting, recovering. You're using it to now produce stuff, which does have a biochemical cost. And I know this from my own experience because I do it all the time. But the best thing to do is around this time, 8, 9 o'clock, prepare for bed, do your spiritual practice, and then go to sleep for 10. I mean, it's difficult when it's this light, I have to say, because it's still light in the UK. So
Yeah, it is, but it doesn't. I can just fall asleep.
Fall asleep anyway.
Yeah. I mean, I have blinds at the window, but I've got sort of Veluxes, which I don't have blinds on.
Yeah.
And, if I'm tired, Jonathan, and
It
you
is.
know, I just go dead to sleep.
Yeah.
No problem.
Well, that's good. That's good.
Even with it being light.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So let's jump in then to the med. Hopefully we don't lose that whole recording. It's a shame. But anyway, let's just go into this. All right. My phone now active. Oh. Yeah, what's going on there? It seems to have just died again.
Are you able to plug it in and charge it? Or
Yeah, I'm not sure if charging was the problem. It was fully charged this morning. I'll try it. Just rebooted it. Just died a death again. Anyway, let's crack on. I'll record it another way. Well, maybe it has died. I don't know. I thought I'd fully charged it this morning, but maybe I hadn't. Maybe it didn't charge. I don't know. So anyway, let's. Maybe it didn't charge overnight. Maybe that was the problem. Okay, so let's do the meditation. This is on today's lesson 116, which is a review of lessons 101 and 102. So just make yourself comfortable, sitting comfortably with your feet shoulder width apart, your back straight. Cup your hands on your lap. Close your eyes. And just start off by taking a nice deep breath in through the nose. Just breathing in, noticing how the stomach rises and the chest rises. And the subtle flow of air in through the nostrils. Pause at the top of the inhale. Scan your mind. Notice any thoughts, emotions, body sensations going on. And just remind yourself of today's first review idea. That God's will for me is perfect happiness. No matter what you seem to be thinking and experiencing, particularly if any of those thoughts are unhappy, you're feeling unhappy in any way, shape, or form, just remind yourself that God's will or perfect love's awareness for me is perfect happiness. Perfect happiness is mine. And I can suffer only from the belief that there is another will apart from God's will, or another awareness apart from its. I can suffer only from the belief that there is another awareness apart from it. And so just blow your belief in that awareness away. Just gone, just blowing it away with the breeze of your breath. the nothingness that it really is. Just rest here, calm in the quiet. Nowhere else to go, nothing else to do. Just experience the perfect happiness that is God's will for you, that is perfect love's awareness. So perfect loving awareness is perfect happiness. Just acknowledge that, notice that, give thanks for that. Perfect love's awareness for me is perfect happiness. And I can suffer only from the belief that there is another awareness apart from it. So all unhappiness, all pain, unhappiness, misery, suffering is just a belief in another awareness apart from perfect love's awareness. I believe that there's something else that's possible. That something else we call the ego, a belief in separation. Just letting that go, breathing it all away with the breeze of your breath. Going, gone. Follow the stomach into the spine. And so now, remind yourself that you share God's will for happiness for you. Saying, I share God's will for happiness for me, or alternative version, as you breathe in, to just invite this awareness in. I share perfect love's awareness for happiness for me. I share this awareness. I share my source of awareness for me. My Father's will is how the original is, but I share my source of awareness. Alternative for me, its extension. I want only what it has given me. Say that to yourself. I want only this awareness and this happiness. I share my source of awareness for me, its extension. Breathe in on that, embrace that, feel that. It's a firm statement of your true intent. I want only what it has given me. I want only what it has given me, and it has given me all there is. All there really is. reality, truth, which will inevitably make you happy, peaceful, loving, joy, gratitude. It's given you all of this. And you just rest in that awareness, rest in the gratitude for that awareness. So just sinking inwards, going deeper and deeper with each breath, breathing in and out through your nose, and just each breath, sink into this deeper awareness, this shared awareness of perfect love, which is happening. Nowhere else to go, nothing else to do, absolutely nothing else to think about, just breathe, relax, and be still. And allow happiness to alight on you like a butterfly. It's just there. If you just go into the stillness and you drop the thinking mind, and you drop all of your concerns and problems, worries and anxieties, just allow yourself to experience this great gift of happiness, which is just for a couple of minutes. Be quiet, be still, observe the breath, focus on the breath, take your mind away from thoughts. And just allow yourself to sink into any thoughts come up to seemingly disturb your peace. Just let them go. I was sinking deeper and deeper, letting go of all negative thoughts, any unhappy thoughts. Remind yourself that I share perfect love's awareness for happiness for me. Perfect love's awareness for me is perfect happiness. And that and only that. Let's give yourself a couple of minutes to feel this happiness just naturally rising or lighting upon you is one of our quotes. It happens like a butterfly that if you seek it, you chase it, will always be out of reach. But just sit quietly, it may come and the lights upon you. So just gently coming back now. This deep, happy state. Going to leave that state. You're just going to bring your awareness back into the body, into the world. On the count of three, you're going to open your eyes. So 1, just breathing in. Noticing how the stomach rises and the chest rises. Subtle flow there in through the nostrils. Pause at the top of the inhale. You breathe in, smile. Notice at the top of the inhale what you're thinking, what you're feeling. Scan your mind. Any remaining unhappy thoughts, right? Even a little fragment of worry, a little sigh of disappointment. Anything that you call negative, just notice that and remind yourself that I share perfect love's awareness for happiness. For me. Perfect love's awareness for me is perfect happiness, and I share it. So how can I be unhappy? How can this negative thought that negates that happiness, how can that even be? How could it have any true existence? And then let's exhale. Exhale on the count of 2. Just let it all go, let it all flow out. Notice how the air flows out. The mouth, the chest, and the stomach suck back in. Have a sense of releasing that energy. Maybe visualize it as a dark energy. It's leaving you, leaving your body, your mind. energy system. Let it all out. Let it all go. On the count of 2, just rest at the bottom of the exhale in this state of happiness. Notice how peaceful it is. It's empty, it's spacious, it's calm. Actually, nothing needs to disturb that peace ever. This peace, this happiness is the truth. So it is. Said, that is done. Now on the count of 3, you're going to open your eyes. So just look around and notice what's going on in the room around you. Just observing. All these body sensations, observe what you're receiving, hearing, touching, tasting, feeling. Don't attach to any of that, just notice it, just aware of it. So ask yourself, what is noticing? Yeah, that same awareness is noticing everything in this non-judgmental way. That is your happy awareness. That's perfect love's awareness for you. So it's not affected by any of the sense perceptions. It's just sitting in its true awareness, resting in this perfect loving awareness, not affected by any of these sense perceptions. If you can get a sense of that, just look around and you notice all the senses that you're getting this data feeding in to your sensory system, into your mind all the time, but your awareness is actually unaffected by that. The true awareness just remains as it is, as it always was, as it has been eternally, and just quiet, calm, empty, open, spacious awareness. This awareness is what brings you happiness, and nothing else will. So hopefully you can just recognize that, give that a moment's recognition by repeating the lessons to yourself. The perfect love's awareness for me is perfect happiness, and I share this awareness, perfect love's awareness for happiness for me. In other words, I accept it as my own. I accept this awareness is true. I accept there's nothing else I want. The first lesson says the only reason we suffer is because we've chosen something else. We have a belief that there is another awareness. Is that really true? Or is that just a delusion? So ask yourself that. Surely the answer is obvious. And just set the intention to stay in this expanded awareness, this happy awareness for the rest of the evening and on into tomorrow and your weekend. So that brings us to the end of the session, meditation, and our session. So thank you, Archie, Kim,
Thank you.
for joining. I hope you enjoyed that.
No, I really enjoyed spending time with both of you. Yeah, good lesson tonight.
Yeah, good lesson and some quite deep stuff we did in expression. So
yes,
Kim, yeah, just the spirit is with you. We're with you. Just keep going. Trust the process and just double down on your spiritual practice. Just make sure you're doing that every day. That's the most important thing, because that's going to give the Holy Spirit the time and the space to do the healing. All right, so I'll see you again next week. I think we said Monday, huh, Archie? It's Elaine, Monday afternoon.
Let me see.
We do Monday and a Wednesday or Thursday again. Does that work?
Yeah, Monday afternoon works. Yes.
Monday afternoon, okay. And then Thursday, Wednesday or Thursday?
Oh, sorry, in a minute. Well, sorry, I'm in the wrong month. I'm in
Right.
June rather
Right.
than July. Yeah, Monday afternoon. Is 2:30 okay, Jonathan?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then Thursday evening, would that work for you, Kim?
Yeah, it does. Thank you.
Thursday next week?
Yes,
Yeah.
Thursday evening.
Same time, yeah. Okay, so let's do that next week. Yeah, so Kim, we'll see you probably Thursday next week. But if you want to reach out and do a one-on-one with me, then just let me know in the week. Okay, so we can do that. But the main thing is do your spiritual practice morning, evening, do the 1 hour guided meditation, do the lessons, try and practice them through the day, because you're going to give yourself the time for the healing to happen. All right, and you'll be fine. It's all good.
Thank you.
Okay.
Namaste.
Namaste.
Namaste, Archie. Thank you.
Yeah.
Bye.
Namaste.
Hello.
Well,
Yeah. Take
See you.
care.
Bye.
sleep
Bye-bye.
well.
Bye.
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 Bye, Archie.
Yeah. Good night. Bye.
All right, so that is a wrap for today. So if you enjoyed that session, why not hit the subscribe button and subscribe to the channel? That would be appreciated. It'll also notify you whenever we go live, which is twice a week. So you can catch the live streams or the recordings. If you want to go a little bit deeper, go to lifebuild.com. You'll see that in the background, or there's a link below. And you can sign up to receive my free daily Telegram message, which has the daily quotes and some comments on that, kind of blog posts, and then a mind training lesson from Course in Miracles. Sometimes I share other material like a discussion session, some videos or talks, people like Eckhart Tolle, sometimes some movies, songs. There's a lot of inspiration material for freely available at lifebuild.com. Just put in your number that you use for Telegram. You can download the Telegram app if you don't use it, free on the Google Play or App Store, depending on whether you use an Android or an iPhone, or on any tablet, etc. And put in your number that you use for Telegram, and you will be added to the list. So yeah, hope to catch you in the group. Hope to see you in one of these sessions. Maybe you'll also be invited to join the live sessions, by the way, on the group, so you can get access to these via Zoom link, which you can do for 3 weeks free of charge. So yeah, look forward to hopefully connecting with you in a deeper, more meaningful way. Thank you for your attention, and namaste, which means the happy self in me acknowledges and honors that same happy self in you. Much love, peace, and